Hi there! I'm back to show you a card that has been on my mind for months. I finally managed to figure out the mechanism, so I can now share it with you. When you move the tab back and forth, the girl moves her arms and legs, creating a beautiful snow angel. Let's see how I made the card. I used a stamp from the Pure Innocence line by My Favorite Things called Jumping for Joy. It was ideal for this card. The only problem was that it was too small for the mechanism that I had in mind. After several tries, I came up with this. But as you can see, the right side doesn't move too well, and this is because there's very little space for the pull tab. Also, the torso doesn't quite cover all of the elements. I started by stamping, scanning and enlarging the stamp by 40%. Then I printed 2 copies on heavyweight cardstock. Here I've already cut the arms and legs of the doll. I also made her sweater longer so that it would cover the legs more. I made it into a striped sweater to hide the line. I used an awl to punch 2 holes in each of the pieces. The first hole close to the inner edge to attach the pieces to the slider strip, and the second one about 3/16 of an inch from the first one, to attach them to the card panel. The pull strip measures 1/2 inch in order to fit between the extremities. As you can see, I've already punched 4 holes in it. It's very important that the holes line up with the inner holes of the arms and legs so that the mechanism works well. To make the strip of paper more resistant, I attached it to a strip of acetate with score tape. Here's the most difficult part of the card. We have to link the arms to the slider strip with some thick thread. First I run the needle through the right arm and then through the hole on the right side of the strip. Oh, let's get rid of that piece of washi tape. Then I enter the strip from the back to go through the left arm. I hope the video is clear enough. And that's it. For the moment I'm not tying any knots. And now let's repeat the steps with the legs. I can now think of several ways to make the process easier. For example, I could have attached the elements to the slider strip with some washi tape, or I could have tied some loose knots to keep the elements in check. I also could have worked with a shorter thread. Oh well, what's done is done. Next I'm introducing some tiny brads or fasteners by Tim Holtz into the holes so that I can attach the elements to the card panel. To make sure that I didn't tighten the legs of the brads too much, I put a strip of thick paper in between them and the panel and pressed loosely. Now I can finally start tying the threads and cutting the leftover bits. I decided to go with a surgeon's knot, which is almost like a regular knot. You just have to add an extra twist when tying the first throw, forming a double overhand knot. But of course you can tie the threads however you like, as long as they don't come apart. Next we'll do the same thing with the legs. I then snipped a piece of the pull tab so that there would be more space to glue the doll's head to the card panel later on. I added a couple of drops of glossy accents to the knots to secure them even more. So that the pull strip wouldn't move sideways, I added 2 pieces of foam tape to the sides. These pieces will also support the torso. In order to make the snow angel panel, I had to hide the pull tab, so I cut a slit a little under half an inch under the brads of the legs. Don't worry, I put an old credit card between the panel and the doll so I wouldn't ruin anything. I wish I had thought of it sooner though, because I had to detach the doll in order to insert the pull tab into the slit. Everything looks good. You can hardly tell that the slit is there, and once the torso is in its place, it will be completely covered. Now I'm making sure that the pull tab is straight, so that I can attach some foam strips to the sides. I'm also attaching 2 layers of foam strips to the back of the head of the doll, so that the mechanism will have enough room. But before gluing it down, I want to make the panel narrower. Now we can finally glue the torso of the girl in its place, and the first part of the card is finished. I trimmed the pull tab a bit and used a 6/8 inch hole punch to cut my panel. I also cut a half circle of white cardstock with my 1 inch hole punch, on which I stamped the word pull from the interactive label set by My Favorite Things. Here I'm using a piece of vellum the same size as my card panel to draw the shape of the snow angel. You can see that I cheated and drew it off camera, but this is just so that you get the idea. I folded the paper in half and cut out the silhouette. Next I just had to trace it to my snow card panel. I used a sharp craft knife to cut out the shape. And then I used the before mentioned hole punch to cut a half circle in my new panel. To create the snow, I brought into play this special embossing powder by Hero Arts. It's called White Puff and it's applied as regular embossing powder. But when it's heated, it sort of puffs up. This is the result. You can see some volume and some nice texture. I attached the snow panel to the main panel with score tape. And I didn't forget about the little tab that I made earlier. For this type of card though, it's a good idea to use multiple layers of cardstock instead of foam adhesive to make the pull tab more resistant. I ended up doing exactly that. I cut a card base in the same color as the girl's sweater and beanie. It measures 8 inches by 6 and 9/16 of an inch. Next, I applied some foam tape to the back of the panel, avoiding the brads, and attached it to the card base. Only the sentiment was missing. I finally chose congratulations in Spanish. The die is by La Pareja Creativa. I die cut a strip of cardstock with score tape on the back to make it easier to glue the die cut word to my panel. Our interactive snow angel card is finally finished. It's not an easy card to make since I wanted to adapt the mechanism to this stamp, but if you want to challenge yourself and try it out, you should definitely look for printable articulated paper dolls online. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked today's tutorial. If you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them. See you next time.